You ever see a house for sale and just wonder, what's it really worth? I mean, beyond that big number on the listing. Well, there's a whole science behind figuring that out, and today we're going to pull back the curtain and show you how it all works. So let's just ask it straight up. What is a house really worth? It seems like a simple question, right? But the truth is, that price tag is just the tip of the iceberg. The real answer isn't just one number. It's actually a whole story, and it changes depending on who's telling it. And to get to the bottom of it, we have to understand this one crucial idea. Cost is not the same as value. See, cost, that's easy. It's the price of the materials, the labor, the land. It's just math. But value? Oh, value is all about what someone, a real person, is actually willing to pay for it. And that space right there, between what it costs to build and what someone will pay, that's where all the magic happens. Yeah, so value isn't this one solid thing. It's got, different faces. The worth of the very same building can swing wildly depending on who's asking and why they're asking. So let's meet the 5 main faces of value. First up, you've got market value. This is the one we're all familiar with, right? It's the price you see on those real estate apps. It's basically the sweet spot where a happy buyer and a happy seller would probably shake hands with nobody being forced into the deal. You can think of it as the fair price on a perfectly normal day. Then we have book value. Now, this is the accountant's view of the world. It's a super strict formula. You take the original cost and you subtract all the wear and tear over the years. That's called depreciation. It's a really important number for a company's balance sheet, but honestly, it might have almost nothing to do with what you could actually sell the place for in the real world. And speaking of the real world, sometimes things get messy. That's where distress value comes in. This is the I need to sell this thing yesterday price. You see this a lot with bank foreclosures, and because there's so much pressure to sell fast, the price is almost always way, way below what it would normally be worth. Okay, next up is salvage value. This is a cool one. Imagine a building that's not really useful for its original job anymore, say, an old factory, but it hasn't been knocked down yet. Its salvage value is what the structure itself is worth to someone who wants to turn it into something new, like cool loft apartments. They're not buying a factory, they're buying the building's potential. And that leads us perfectly into scrap value. Now, this is what you get when that old factory is past the point of being saved. It's the end of the line. We're talking about the value of the raw materials, the steel beams, the copper wiring, the bricks, after the whole thing has been torn down and piled up. So let's put those two side by side, because this is a really important difference. Salvage value is the building standing tall, ready to be repurposed. Scrap value is the building in a pile, ready to be recycled. One's about a new life, the other is about its basic parts. All right, so we've got all these different kinds of value, but how do the pros actually calculate them? How do they land on a number? Well, they have a special toolkit with a bunch of different methods, and the true art of valuation is knowing exactly which tool to use for which job. And this toolkit makes a lot of sense when you look at it. For a normal apartment, valuers use the comparison method. Super simple. They just look at what similar places nearby sold for recently. But what about something unique like a hospital or a movie theater? You can't compare that to anything. So they pull out the cost method and figure out what it would cost to just build a new one from scratch. And for huge pieces of land, they use the belting method, which is based on a simple idea. The part of the land right next to the road is worth more than the part way in the back. See? The right tool for the right job. But hold on. What about buildings that are designed to be moneymakers, like an office building or a mall? For those, valuers have a brilliant tool called the income capitalization method. It's a way of valuing a property based purely on how much cash it brings in. Now, the formula looks pretty straightforward. You just take the property's net income for the year and multiply it by this little thing called year's purchase, or YP for short. But what on earth is that YP factor? That's the secret ingredient. So this year's purchase thing, what is it? Okay, think of it like a magic multiplier. It's the number that turns a steady stream of future rent checks into one big pile of cash value today. It's all based on the kind of return an investor expects to get. Basically, it's the bridge that connects what a property earns to what it's worth. But nothing lasts forever, especially buildings. Over time, they get old, they wear out, they lose value. This process is called depreciation, and valuers have to account for it. Let's check out the 2 main ways they do that. So you've got 2 main options here. This straight line method is the most basic. You just say, okay, this building is going to lose a certain fixed amount of value every single year. Easy enough. The sinking fund method, though, is a bit more clever. It's like setting up a savings account for the building. Every year you put a little money aside, that money earns interest, and the goal is that when the building is finally at the end of its life, you've got a nice big fund ready to go to build a brand new one. Pretty smart, huh? All right, that's enough theory. It's time to see if you were paying attention. Let's put on our valuer hats for a minute and see if you can tackle a few quick questions. You ready? Let's do this. Question number 1. A property has reached the end of its useful life, but, and this is the important part, it has not been torn down yet. What do we call its value? Is it A, scrap value, B, salvage value, or C, junk value? Take a second. And the answer is B, salvage value. You got it. The key word there is that the building can still be salvaged as one whole piece for a new use. Okay, next question. Now, picture the same building, but this time it has been demolished. You're calculating the value of the pile of steel, wood, and concrete. What's that called? Is it A, market value, B, salvage value, or C, scrap value? That's gotta be C, scrap value. Absolutely. The building is gone. All that's left to value are the bits and pieces, the scrap. All right, last one. You have to put a value on a big old cinema hall. There are no other cinemas that have sold nearby to compare it to, and it's not generating any standard rental income. Which method from the toolkit are you going to use? A, comparison, B, income capitalization, or C, cost method? The answer is C, the cost method. And that right there is a perfect example of what we've been talking about. When you can't compare it and you can't track its income, you value it based on what it would cost to replace it. It's the ultimate tool for those special, one-of-a-kind buildings. So after all that, all the different faces of value, all the methods in the toolkit, what's the real point? What's the value of understanding value? I think it's knowing that a price tag is never just a number. It's a story. And now you know how to read it.